If social media was around in your childhood, what embarrassing moment would you be famous for? After receiving the CD as a gift, singing the entirety of Boyz II Men's I'll Make Love to You on my 8th birthday to my parents, aunt, and uncle, and both sets of grandparents, one of which is very religious. Throw your clothes on the floor. I'm gonna take my clothes off to oh. In 5th grade I was in a school musical production where in one song I was the Boogie Woogie reindeer, and during the song I was supposed to dance. Well, my mom had just showed me the movie Coyote Ugly, so I thought the best course of action was to dance like the girls in that movie. I'm sure there's still a home video out there of the 5th grade boy dancing like a stripper. Pooping on the floor between arcade games at age 7, so I wouldn't lose my place in line to play Gauntlet. I lost my place in line. My god, I love that game. Once I was doing so well in Gauntlet and the urge to pee came around. I held as long as I could, so that I could keep going until I died. To my surprise I kept killing it, and playing it so ended up being the longest run I'd ever done. I eventually started doing the pee hold dance. My bladder was about to explode, and I was sweating bullets being more focused on holding my piss than playing Gauntlet. My dad must have seen me struggling cause he came over to ask if I was okay. At that moment I knew I was going to pee, so I shouted at my dad to help keep my character alive. He had no clue how to play video games, never understood the appeal of them, and turned and ran to the bathroom. Promptly pissed in my shorts as soon as I let go of the controls, and basically tried to wipe up myself with toilet paper in the bathroom. My dad comes into the bathroom to help me, and rather feel relief that my dad had come to save the day. I got mad at him for not trying to keep my characters alive. This was at Fuddruckers, so plenty of people saw me during my struggle and my walk of shame out of the bathroom with my soaked khaki shorts. Was in choir and had an upset stomach, so was laying down while everyone else was practicing. Adults thought I was faking it, so made me get up and sing with everyone. A few minutes later I puked all over another kid. They let me go home after that. I was at the airport. Hadn't seen my dad since I got back. Saw a guy with a blazer like my dad's. Jumped onto this random stranger's back as he's looking for his luggage. He must have been so confused. I once fell asleep in an airport chair. I was little and a bit of a contortionist, so I found a way to be comfy, but my neck was hurting. In my sleepy/blurry-eyed state I just assumed that the man in the blue blazer sitting next to me was my dad and rested my head on his shoulder for support 2 seconds. After I close my eyes again my head drops suddenly as the guy hightails it away from his seat. Not my dad. I shit myself as a 6-year-old girl at the mall. I farted in the shoe store and my sister thought it was absolutely hilarious. Again, she exclaimed as I forced to follow up fart out. In complete hysterics now. Again, she cackled. Another fart. She was laughing so hard she was nearly in tears. Again. Although I no longer had any gas, I pushed as hard as I could, determined to make my sister laugh even harder. Then, a moment too late, I noticed I was shitting myself. I can only imagine my sister would have been filming on her iPhone, had they been available in the 90s. Oh, I've got a good one. I was 7 years old and my parents were hosting a family and friends gathering at home. I mostly stayed out of the way and played video games in the living room, and adults would ask me what I was playing and whatever. It was nice. A few hours into the party I wanted some soda. I go to the fridge and see one of those little ice-breaking hammers and proceed to stick my tongue to it like the cartoons did to have a laugh. I pulled it off immediately and there was blood everywhere. I ran out crying with my bloody tongue out, to the absolute horror of every single adult. Now, you'd think this would be the viral moment, but no. A family friend that was a doctor was there, and he came over to me, saw my tongue, and told me it's fine. I just need you to spit out some blood so I can get a better look. I proceeded to spit my mouth full of blood just straight to his face. Every single person that saw it lost their shit laughing. Even the doctor. Not embarrassing, but I ruined a magic show once. The magician said he needed a good kid to help him. I declared myself a good kid and walked on stage. I then proceeded to ruin the trick by pointing out the ball he made disappear was behind a table. He then sent me away. I, 14 meters at the time, was at my sister's hockey banquet, 300 girls, babes, in attendance. As the speaker approached the podium, Don Cherry for you hockey fans, I was leaning back on my chair. Indeed, I leaned too far. I began to fall back on the chair and grabbed the tablecloth to hang on to it. I ended up pulling the entire KFC food party banquet food onto my head and lap, gravy included. My elbows also hit the piano keys behind me, making a massive B-flat note throughout the gymnasium. When Mr. Cherry got to the microphone, he said, "Thank you, maestro." I died a little that day. I had a stomach bug once in middle school, and the fucking nurse didn't believe me. I may have cried wolf before. I suffered through school all day until finally my last period. We were taking a test and I asked my teacher if I could go to the bathroom, and before I could finish speaking I projectile vomited over her shoulder and mostly into the trash can. The jock in the class was like, "Whoa, your throw up looks like Sprite." And even in my stupor I was like, what the fuck? My teacher made the horse girl walk me to the nurse with the soiled trash bin, and horse girl was actually super cool about it. Told me not to be embarrassed and took my mind off it by talking about horses. I was around 8 or so, and my first time seeing a men's urinal inside a McDonald's restroom. I thought to myself, what a weird sink, and proceeded to wash my hands on it by literally smearing my hands on the surface of the urinal where the water flows. Got back to our table and told my mom about it. I don't know, it was possible for someone to gasp, laugh, cry, and be embarrassed at the same time. I'm pretty sure other people from surrounding tables overheard it. Social media wasn't really used back then. Facebook's still on its early stages. My friend and I thought it would be fun to recreate Jackass and title it Jack, but we were like 11 to 12. Instead of doing anything actually dangerous, we would take the truck/wheels off our skateboard and do stupid tricks on a trampoline and then make a hand signal and yell Jack butt at the camera. I'm glad the recording on VHS was lost to the world. The time I got my period at 11 and someone pointed out blood on my skirt, I went to the bathroom to see what was happening and ran out screaming that I was dying. Everyone saw. Good times. My sister closed the sliding van door. I screamed, "Mom, Kimberly, you do not scream right after a door closes. It makes me think someone got their hand caught in it." Me while bawling, I died. Let me just start this post by saying I was not a smart 9-year-old. There was an old wooden playset in my backyard. I don't remember what happened to piss my dumbass 9-year-old brain off, but let's say I fell off of the playset. I blamed the playset itself for my own incompetence and grabbed a metal baseball bat that was laying close by. I put my arms above my head and swung the bat downwards toward one of the playset ladder rungs as hard as I could. I did not win. Let me just start this post by saying I was not a smart 9-year-old. There was an old wooden playset in my backyard. I don't remember what happened to piss my dumbass 9-year-old brain off, but let's say I fell off of the playset. I blamed the playset itself for my own incompetence and grabbed a metal baseball bat that was laying close by. I put my arms above my head and swung the bat downwards toward one of the playset ladder rungs as hard as I could. I did not win. The metal bat came back toward me and hit me square in the forehead. I laid there unconscious for a while, and when I woke up I had a huge lump where my forehead used to be. That lump stayed with me as a reminder of my defeat for at least a week. TLDR, I knocked myself unconscious with a metal baseball bat because I got mad at a wooden play set in my backyard. My mom was in college when I was about a baby, so sometimes she'd have to take me. Well, one time we were in the computer lab during finals week in the age before autosave, and I guess I got away by crawling under the tables. I found this nice glowing switch under there and apparently wanted to give it a press. Well, suddenly the entire lab shut off and about 30 people lost God knows how much work. She rushed me out of there totally freaked out before anyone got an idea of what happened. I had/have terrible eyesight and wore glasses as a kid, as did my younger brother and sister. One of the times my cousin visited us, he said he wanted to wear glasses too and asked us for an idea that could make him need glasses. I told him to try peeing in your eyes. It'll probably make things blurry. My cousin then proceeded to emit a vertical stream of urine, successfully having the better part of it land in his eyes. He never got glasses, and this is still brought up at almost every family gathering. Oh, and I once, at a very young age, told my even younger brother there was chocolate in the yard left by our dachshunds. It was not chocolate. Yet another thing that is still brought up at almost every family gathering. Looking back, I was a big little shit. When I was around 4 years old, I would get cheeky often and do things I wasn't allowed to do. When my parents asked me if I did something, I would lie, but it would be very obvious. When they confronted me about it, I asked how they knew. My mother said that a big red circle would appear on my forehead whenever I lied. Afterwards my parents asked me again if I did said thing. Me, thinking I was an absolute genius, would facepan my forehead and deny everything. When I was about 14, a large male ostrich outrageously flirted with me, doing a full mating dance, leaning back, crouching and flailing his wings. My family and family friends witnessed the maniacal monochromatic motherfucker and nearly died from laughing so hard. I was mortified. Fortunately, I never saw him again. My mom took a lot of pictures of me crying when I was young. I was a teenager when I found them, and even then I was all WTF. I'm positive that they would all be on SM. It was complicated. No, I do not know why she did it. I do know that I received the least of the questionable interactions of all my siblings. I prefer to think that I was a beautiful toddler who cried gracefully. What ya gonna do? During recess, a friend coaxed me into throwing a firecracker into the bushes, which I did because I was stupid that way. The bushes caught fire. The bushes were very close to residential houses. We didn't know what to do, so we just went back to class. As the bell had rang 15 minutes later, I could hear the fire engines 5 minutes after that. My friend and I were called into the principal's office. After a stern talking to, the police had arrived, and we were taken to the police station, where we had to explain ourselves again. Ultimately, we each had to do 20 hours of community service. This was in the mid-90s, before the web, smartphones, and social media, so there was no online record of this until I shared it right now. Better times. I wrote Valentine card to a guy in school. He realized it's me and made fun of me in front of everyone. That was bad. Edit. Thank you for your support and stories. Also, some years later, in university I told other guy about my feelings and he explained to me that we can be only friends. I don't really remember exactly his words, but it was perfect, caring and most delicate talk possible for such situation. We were friends for a long time before and still are 12 years later, so that only highlights how different people can be. Probably that time I went in to school with my pants smelling of damp. I actually didn't know that not drying out clothes properly would cause such a pungent outrage. I thought my mum had washed them with my dad's socks. So I sprayed what may as well have been a full can's worth of Lynx chocolate on them and just went into school. Wow. The smell was even worse. Walking down the corridor I heard someone scream OMG what's that smell, and I knew it was me. I ended up pretending to be ill and going home at break time, which wasn't soon enough. I thank that lady for letting me go, even though I clearly was just leaving because of my smelly pants. Kind of a sad embarrassing moment, but before my grandmother was buried, one of my aunt kneeled and put her hands on top of her casket to pray. My grandma's casket had a clear window at the top. I was around 9 years old and I saw what she was doing and I wanted to pray for her as well, so I did the same thing my aunt was doing. When my elbows were on top of the casket, the glass broke in front of the whole family and I cried thinking I disgraced my nana's memory. It was Halloween, and I was in my Superman costume, 7 years old. I was with my cousin who was a Power Ranger along with my mom and dad. It was one of the last homes we visited that night. We knocked on the door and the owner opens up, gives candy, and out of nowhere, a fully grown Doberman squeezes through and chases me for a block or two. I was running full blast, my cape flying all over and shouting. Behind me, the Doberman. Behind the Doberman was my dad chasing after us, and behind my dad, the dog owner chasing after us too. My mom has a deep fear of dogs. I saw her hide behind a tree along with my cousin. Good times. Running from the police wearing nothing but Doc Martens, a Costco hat and a cast on my right hand, jumping a fence as best I could, only to catch the toe of my boot on a pocket and fall directly into some Fitzer bushes, getting myself untangled, only to fall into some more Fitzers in the exact same yard. That said, I got away. Exhibit A. 13-year male me, wearing a spiked choker, spiked leather gloves and a Green Day hat purposely tilted to one side, over my eye, regularly. Exhibit B. Me and my friends at a smoking spot, me needing a good old diarrhea shit, taking said shit, and wiping my ass with my underwear. One of my friends tried to take a photo of the underwear, so I had to sprint, grab them and hurl them into a field. Exhibit C. Drinking a liter of whiskey, eating roughly 15 to 20 hamburgers, passing out and shitting my pants. All at a ballroom dance competition at Pontins in Brian Sands, white trash holiday resort in UK. I've said it before, and I will say it again, I thank God every single day that social media was not a thing until after I had already graduated from college. Growing up without social media was the best. When you left school, all your school problems stayed there. There was no cyberbullying. The most you had to deal with was someone calling and asking if your refrigerator was running, or doing a Bart Simpson and asking to speak to IC Wiener or something. As for what I would be embarrassed for, I've got 2 words for you, but cut. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, we took a field trip to the Field Museum here in Chicago. During our lunch break, and I wandered off to the gift shop to see what they had. I had a huge crush on this girl named Victoria in my class, and I saw this ladybug ring for a couple of dollars. I knew she liked ladybugs, and I had money my parents gave me to buy something at the shop, so I decided to buy the ring and give it to her. I was really nervous and kept waiting for the right time to do it. I eventually decided to just go for it and walked up to her near the end of the trip. She was with some of her friends, which made me more nervous, but I found the courage to do it. She looked at the ring and laughed. Her friends joined her, and she then tossed the ring in the trash. I was completely devastated and tried hard to hold back my tears. Even though I'm over it now, that completely fucked my confidence with girls for a long time. Looking back, I may have embarrassed her too, giving it to her in front of her friends, which is why she reacted that way, but even still it makes me cringe when I think about it. I can only imagine that with social media around back then, and it happening in such a public and crowded place, there would possibly be a viral video posted on YouTube or Twitter of that embarrassing moment. That time when I was rowing my younger brother around in our little dinghy and insisted it should be me, not him, who should hold the duck's egg that we had found in an abandoned nest. I held the egg between my skinny legs as I rowed us back. Long story short, it rolled off the bench and broke on the dinghy's bottom. It turned out to be a rotten egg and the stench was intense. I remember crying as I was made to scrub out the dinghy while my brother was enjoying his evening meal with my parents. A classic parenting moment, a mo equals. Probably one of the too many times I was involved in various Rocky Horror Picture Show reenactments during high school theater events. Or that time I played Minna in our high school's presentation of Dracula, and during the lusty bedroom scene, while Minna and Drac are processing their undying love for one another, in a perfect moment of silence someone yells out, "Stick it in her." And I forgot all my lines and we kinda just sat there frozen in each other's arms, staring in horror into each other's pimply faces. Or that time 9 of us dropped acid, climbed into one car, and went to the high school dance, and made complete asses of ourselves when they played Cotton Eye Joe. Young me was annoyed by a girl and we kinda started fighting. I showed her my awesome karate moves. Basically you can imagine a tiny girl, age 5, showing of her not available karate skills to an older, bigger and definitely stranger girl who was definitely not impressed by my moves. She simply walked away. When I was 16, a bunch of us went to a water park / wave pool that had a waterfall on one side. I was on a raft / a boy who liked me, and when our raft went under the waterfall, the force pushed the top of my swimming suit off. I panicked and hopped off the raft to grab it underwater, and the waves started, bringing a bunch of rafts over the top of me. A lifeguard dove in and yanked my trapped, humiliated self out of the pool. The boy I was with later professed his love for me, and I still wonder how much he saw. vomiting all over the classroom and hallways of my new school on the first day of grade 5. My mom told me it was just nerves and sent me to school with the stomach flu. We were all sitting in a circle in the reading area of the class when I started spewing. I ran out of the classroom into a school I had never been in before and had no idea where any bathrooms were, just trying to hold the sick in my mouth. I did not succeed. Great way to make a first impression. 5th grade. It was a weird school district where 3 elementary schools merged into one before middle school. I went to the bathroom for #2 right after recess when most others were in there. I didn't realize that going #2 in that bathroom at the time 20 other 5th grade boys were in the bathroom would get me made fun of. I tried to dive and roll into the other stall and come out pretending I just peed and walked out. Didn't work, and I'll never forget it to the point that I didn't publicly #2 for like 10 years. 20 years later I still hold it if others are in the bathroom because of 5th fucking grade. I hate public pooping because of this and always have. Oh well, let's see. Face planting into a ditch, showing off on my bike, beating the crap out of the school bully with my backpack, doing the wide-legged shuffle out of class because I had just crapped myself, breaking my arm in 4 places trying to show off to a girl, tripping and falling from the top row of the gym bleachers to receive an award. Man, there is so much more. Not childhood, but in my 20s. I was a student pilot flying a Cessna 152, the moped of the sky for those not familiar, into Cheyenne, Wyoming. It was my first time to a town airport and I didn't want to sound like a goof. I listened to the weather, and at the end there is an identifier like Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, ECT, so they don't have to read it to planes over and over again. This one was information whiskey. I call up the tower and say, GN Tower, Cessna 12345 is a Cessna 152, 10 miles to the south inbound with Brainford. Crap, what was that identifier again? I've been on the radio for much too long. UHH. You gotta get off the radio, man. Inbound with watermelon. F**k. Tower calls back, holding back laughter, report a 3-mile base leg watermelon. The next weekend I needed to go back and at least somewhat redeem myself. I took a different plane, so the tail number would be different, and head back. Cheyenne Tower, Cessna 67890 is a Cessna 152, 10 miles to the south inbound with Bravo. Mailed it.